Okay, good morning everyone. We're so glad that you joined us today for Screencasting. I'm Kim Case and I'm pleased to be here with my co-hosts Peggy George and Lorna Costantini. And we're going to be talking about screencasting and some of the software programs and applications and websites that you can use to create screencasts. Each week we gather at the same time to discuss technology, tools, and issues. Our broadcast consists of a 1-hour session that is recorded. The link to the full video, audio recording, and chat log will be posted to our Classroom 2.0 live site, and that's at http://live.classroom20.com. The topic each week is posted on that website so that you can be prepared to share links, ideas, or tools and activities with screencasting or whatever the topic is of that week. We also have a newbie question of the week that's pre-announced so you can bring possible answers and solutions. And towards the end of the session, we have an open mic time to share new discoveries or highlights that you might have experienced the past week. At the end of the show, we hope that you'll share your highlight with us, so be thinking of something that you might like to share. Before we begin, I'd like to review some of the features that we'll be using today in Illuminate for those who are new to the Illuminate rooms. During today's sessions, we'll be asking poll questions. To cast your vote, you'll use the check mark and the red X at the top of the window in the menu. You won't be marking anything on the whiteboard at that time. And I'll show more about that menu bar in just 1 second. Below the participant window is a hand with a green arrow on it. If you would like to ask a question or share something or comment in the session, then you would click on that to raise your hand, and then you'll be given the privileges to use the microphone. Next to the hand are 2 emoticons, the applause symbol and a thumbs down symbol that you can use. In the far right is a blue door. If you need to step away from your computer, please click on the blue door, and then we'll know that you're not available or at your computer at that moment. Below those symbols is the chat window. If you would like to send a message to the room, you would type your message and then click the send button. To send to this room, make sure that the words "this room" is visible. Otherwise, it goes to a specific person or to the moderators. If you wanted to send a message to a specific person, then you would just click on that drop-down arrow and select their name. Or if you wanted it to go to the moderators, you would do the same thing. Moderators are able to see all private messages throughout the session, so keep that in mind when you're sending messages, but they do not show up in the recording. In the bottom right is the button to activate. I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. Sorry about that. If you can't see the chat or the whiteboard, and you'd like to resize the different windows, you can change the session and click on Layouts. The layout, you would click on View in the top menu. The layout is locked, and then you would need to click on the Layout Locked option to unlock this feature. You can then drag the selected layout, the desired layout is shown on the right, or you can change any of the, resize the windows to any size that fits your screen or your preferences. In a moment, we'll be using the whiteboard tools and the laser pointer. And the laser pointer looks like the blue wand with the red sunburst at the end. And we'll be using that to mark on the world map to indicate our locations. So what I'd like you to do now is to click on that laser pointer and then click on the world map, your location. And when you do that, you may have to drag the little sunburst style over to the right a little bit because it kind of lands to the left sometimes. And it's great to see so many people represented throughout the world on the world map. And we welcome everybody to the show today, and we're so glad that you joined us. Now we're going to go ahead on to the poll questions, and at the top of the window in the menu, you're going to be clicking on either the green check or the red X. You won't be using the slide. You'll be using the menu at the top. And also at the top, if you're using the closed caption services or somebody that you know of, you can click on that blue CC, and then you would see the text that is being typed in by our CC person, Tammy, today. She's doing our closed caption services. And so we welcome everybody that's using the closed caption services, and we thank Tammy for doing that for us. So, on to the first poll question. Is, have you ever made a screencast to use with your students? If you have, please click the green check. And if you have not, click the red X if you've ever made a screencast to use with your students. I'll give a few more seconds to vote, and then I'll show the results. Some of your students may be teachers if you're doing a faculty presentation or a workshop, so that would count as well. And let me show the results. And it looks like about 45% have not created one, and about 43% of the group has. So it's about half and half. A good representation today. Let's go on to the next poll question. Is, do you use screencasts with your students? If you do, whether you created it or not, then click the green check. If you don't use them, tutorial videos with your students or faculty, then click the red X. And after today, I'm hoping that there'll be, if we were to ask this question, there'll be a lot more green checks since we've learned how to use screencasts, some great ideas. So let me get the results. And about 37 do not use screencasts with their students or have not, and about 45% have. So after today, I'm sure that number is going to grow because we're going to have Lorna talk about the fantastic ways of using screencasting today. So we're going to talk about what is a screencast and how can I use screencasts to support my teaching. And I'm going to pass the microphone over to Lorna, our very, very special guest and presenter today, and she's one of the co-hosts of Classroom 2.0 Live. So, Lorna, take it away.
Thanks very much, Kim. And I wanted to sort of make this very clear. I'm a presenter today, and I'm certainly not the expert because there's a classroom full today of 83 people, and I heard about 50% of you screencast. So we're really looking forward to the expertise who are joining us in the chat room to supplement the presentation. And again, I'll start. What I'm going to do is go through tips, explanations, first of all with slideshows. If there's a question comes to your mind, you can put it in the chat room. I'm very open to having you interrupt. So if you really want to add something, please don't feel nervous about doing that. Just raise your hand and we'll give you the microphone because I really want this to be interactive as we go through the process. And when I've gone through the slideshow, I'm going to attempt to desktop share and show you some examples of screencasts that I've been actually working with and go for there. So having said that, we're going to start with the slideshow. So what is screencasting? And I think it has to be very clear that we are all stars in this process, and it's really one opportunity that we as the people on the street can use the tools to present ourselves, present our ideas, present our information in a way that's really user-friendly. So to start off, everyone can use screencasting. They just need some support and direction about how to do that. So I've gotten into this discussion about what really is a screencast. And basically, it's a movie recording of your computer screen. But having said that, there's different points of view, whether it's just a screen recording of what's going on the screen, or is actually a way to present information using your computer screen. And so I'd like to keep in mind that it can be a very inclusive way of presenting information, because that's how I define screencasting, as opposed to just the word screen recording. And I'll differentiate as we go through the presentation. But, you know, it can be a software demonstration, or it could be a narrated PowerPoint. Each one of these has their opportunity to present information. And what I want to emphasize throughout this presentation, it needs to be clear. And that's some of the goals I'd like to help you work through. How do you make that presentation clear with and visible with the tools that we have? Let's walk through some of the uses that you can have for a screencast. And tutorial comes out right off the top of your head. How do you do something? And so having a screencast is a really easy way to walk through, okay, how do I create a blog? Today, how do I create all the different file formats? I mean, how to, that really is covered in a screencast. You know, and lots of people use screencast to demonstrate a product. If you look at some of the companies who give us recording software, Camtasia being one, ScreenFlow, Apple products, they all have a way of showing you how to use it to engage in using their products. So you're able to demonstrate something. The other one, time saver here. You may not think of yourself as tech support, but when you're working with your students or working with your teachers, you may not always have the opportunity to be in front of them, and this gives you an avenue to help someone. Where do I post this? How do I do that? Giving the students instructions. So there's a great opportunity to be technical support when you're saying, okay, I need to know how to make that particular program work for me to use it, so we can walk through. Here's the drop-down menu, those kinds of things. And the reason you really want to do that is because someone could ask you this question 2 or 3 times, and you could be doing it over the phone, but if you have the screencast done, then you can actually present the information to them, providing that you may not have access to desktop sharing. So this is a really easy way to help support each other technically. And then we talk about training. You know, this is a really great tool to train people on different things. For example, if you wanted to train teachers on how to use Flickr and images in the classroom, you could actually do a screencast that walks through the process of step-by-step. You know, which site do I go to? What resource can they use? You know, what's Creative Commons? You can do a whole screencast kind of presentation that way. And then a lot of people use screencasts to sell things. So, you know, we may not be in the technical, the training teaching piece in the classroom, but it's still a way to present information, and often that can be just selling the product as a screencast, or showing how people are trained to do different things in their company. Another one I'm sure you're really familiar with is explaining a concept, and Common Craft is a really good way of making screencasts that show you, you know, what is RSS feeds, what is Twitter, and so on. So if you haven't had a chance to look at Common Craft and their screencasts, I highly suggest it, because there's a tremendous a number of resources, especially in trying to explain Web 2.0 tools that are available for you in using screencasts. I'll just get my thoughts around here just for a second. So the next slide is, what do I actually need? And it's pretty basic. You need the computer, of course, and you need a fairly good headset. But having said that, it doesn't have to be expensive. What I mean by good is usually a USB headset is better for the sound transfer and the clarity of your narrations. And then you need some kind of screen recording software. You know, and I really didn't want to get into a lot of different applications at this time. I'm hoping that we'll have a few minutes later for you to put your best piece of software, because I didn't really want to get into much of promoting one company over the other. I will demonstrate later what I'm comfortable with and what I found successful, but there's lots of things that are either free or commercial. Jing is a really, having said I'm not going to mention them here, Jing is one that you can use freely. Cam Studio, you can use Windows Movie Maker, some of these things are already built into your computer. QuickTime is another one, and we'll go through those few things in a minute. But you've got the tools ready. Now here's what I'd like to suggest to you is a good approach to working through creating your screencasts. And at this time, I want to thank Beth Cantor, and you'll see in the share tabs there's a link to her wiki space about creating screencasts. And she has an excellent article that mirrored a lot of the things I really knew already, but she helped sort them out for me. So if you need to have a reference after this, go and take a look at the article that she's written called Introduction to Screencasting, because she has a very comprehensive coverage of the topic. But I'd like to summarize some of the things that she brought to us. And one of the things that you need to really do in the beginning is plan what you're going to do it. Now, there are some really good people that can walk up to the screen, have it all in their head, say a few words, and it's off, right? They can go. Once in a while I can do that, but if you're trying to be specific and teach a concept, it's really worthwhile planning what you're doing. The nice thing about off the cuff is that you are pretty natural, and it does tell everybody, well, I can do this, I can understand it, and you often feel like it's a conversation between yourself and whoever's using the screencast. So there are some nice things about picking up, turning on the software, and making it happen. I can't do that. I need to be specific. So what I do is figure out which tools I'm going to use, the software application, and I need to think about who is that I'm talking to, who is the audience that I want to address. Is it a training meeting? I do a lot of work with adults, so the perspective I need to give to them is different than I would to an elementary or a secondary school student, because obviously what they're trying to learn is completely different. So, and I try to create a studio in which I'm going to work, and it's not always successful. I mean, I do work out of the home, my studio's here, and my dog barks. But if you could try and get yourself a quiet time, shut all the windows and doors and turn off the phone, you're going to be less frustrated as you go through making your screencasts. Once you've planned, you need to organize yourself. And that's where the idea of using a storyboard and a script comes in. You have lots of opportunities to get yourself mixed up, upset, and frustrated if you don't take these few steps in the beginning and plot out what it is you want to do. And there's again, a resource for a sample storyboard in our share tabs that you can go through. But if you just think through this, I need to have a title, the beginning, I need to have the ends and the credits. So that sort of helps you focus in, these are all the ideas, because I have to give credit to those people as I walk through this. So in the middle, you can chop up the steps, but give yourself a storyboard and get yourself ready to go. It'll save you a lot of time. And if you're going to demonstrate, say, different websites or different pieces in a specific website, I'm suggesting that you set up a set of tabs in your web browser so that instead of having to wait for the time for everything to load up, you can just switch your tabs and everything will be ready for you, which is another time saver. And as I show you what I'm going to do just doing the desktop, I find it gives me clarity because it jogs my mind and reminds me what I'm about to do. So that's organizing yourself. And I'm just fooling with my window here. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. You need to record. You need to record the screen, because that's what it was all about. This is the important piece of putting it together. I said a few minutes ago the difference between natural speech and formal speech, that you have to make a decision about exactly how you're going to present this. And there's sort of a balance here, because when you start getting into the formal part, you think you should be absolutely perfect, and you can drive yourself a little crazy with the perfect part, just because you want it to look really good. You want to look really professional, and that's understandable, but at some point you have to let go, and I've had to teach myself that. You have to recognize that you're going to take a breath. Anything can happen while you're making the screencast. So, again, you're all organized. Everything's ready to go. One piece of advice I'd really like to put forward to you is, in your mind, can I cut up what I'm going to do into very small pieces? And there's some very good reasons to do that. First of all, it doesn't take you long to mess up and get it organized and do it again. But the person who's the user and the recipient of your screencast has, well, 3 different things going on in their head. First, they have to listen to you. Then they have to absorb it. And they need to be interested in what you're doing. And I find if you go past the 2-minute mark, which I've done, people tend to lose interest in what it is you're saying. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to go through maybe a 10-minute presentation, but you should do it in 2-minute clips. And I think we just saw Thomas, because I can't say his last name, who presented for us with the Moodle last week. He has a 2-minute tutorials on using Moodle, and they're quick and they're fast, and you can choose which piece of the presentation that you want to use. So it's a really good tool to think about doing them in small sections. The other part of doing it in small sections, your file size are smaller, so it's easier to upload and work with them. So that's a good reason to keep your clips short. Another piece of advice that I have about actually making the screencast is that you record everything on the screen while you're narrating, but don't record your narration. And that really will help you, because you start to fumble. And how many times have you stopped because you said the wrong word? So you have a chance to get all your video in place, and then you can start narrating it as we go through. On this screen right here, this window is a Mac application called ScreenFlow, and I'm really happy that I have it. I've used other products, but because I'm on a Mac, life gets very, very easy, because I can use this product. I can treat it just like Windows Media Player, and specifically in the Mac size iMovie. I can delete the narration. I can put in all kinds of can't think, features, different sounds and so on, but I can just copy, paste, cut it all up and use it. I can add call-outs, so that's what I was trying to think of, using this particular program. And so I've been very happy with the products that it produces, and why I've really gone to this piece on the Mac size is the resolution of the pictures, that when you're finished, of course you can change your different formats and resolution as you walk through it, but I find if I keep the resolution high, the production online is really important. So, and that's a key thing I talked about in the beginning. It needs to be visible. And so some of the things you need to work through in your head is that, do I have a screencast where I have the mouse going over and I have some conversation, but I really can't see what's going on the screen? So I'm going to give you options in a few minutes about how to handle that, but I really love this program. On the PC side, before I got to moving over to my Mac, I use Camtasia a lot, and I know its features are very good. I haven't worked with it for a while, so maybe someone in the chat room is going to give me a response to how Camtasia is working. But these are paid pieces of software, and if you're going to do professional screencast, it is worth the amount of money that you put into buying these pieces of software. If money isn't one of those things you can use, there's other solutions, and we're going to show you in a few minutes what those can be. So after we've actually, we planned, we organized, record, then you have to figure out what to do with this particular file. And there's several different file formats that you're going to have to worry about. Some programs, Jing, Camtasia, just publish out, it's all done. You don't have to worry about knowing what an FLV is in a movie, an MPEG-4. You don't have to know those kinds of things. If you're getting to a professional presentation, maybe you're going to want to know how to do that. And I'll demonstrate that again in a few minutes. So, talking about formatting. Remember we talked about the 2-minute pieces? When you go to publish on the internet your screencast, the there's restrictions. How big can that file be? Because some hostings will not let you put more than 10 minutes or 100 MB file. So you have to pay attention to that particular piece, and you'll have to be worrying about when you display it, how big is it going to be on the screen? I'm sure you've all watched a YouTube video and done it full screen and you can't see it. So there's some really good tips that you can use to make that happen. So I talked about seeing it. Let's talk about publishing it. And that's where is it going to go and what are you going to use it for? I'm sorry, I can't remember what my slides were. Just let me see where I've got to. That was the slide I had about file size. I have to move on to where you're going to put yourself. Are you going to use it in a blog? Are you going to put it into a Moodle? Is it a static website? Are you going to host it with one of the free applications online? So let's go back again. When you're making the screencast, you sort of have to have an idea which one of them are you going to use, because some file formats behave differently on different hosting solutions. So, if you're going to put it in a blog, there's a couple of ways to do that, and that's to embed it and or use the FLV player, which will demonstrate it again. So those are the kind of things you need to have in your head. Plan, organize, record, publish, and then put it online. Having said that, we're about 12:29. I've organized. I'm going to try and screen share the different screencasts I've done. I don't know how successful this is going to happen and whether I can actually play with them. But let me go to screen share, and Kim or Peggy, you can tell me if it's working or it's not working. And it's not working because it's not showing me the applications that I want. Not good, folks. Just give me a second here. And I'm being quiet because it's not giving me what I want. Oh, here we go. So you should be seeing the one of the pages in Classroom 2.0. Is that right, Peggy? Kim, is that what you're seeing? Just let me know, please. Okay, we're not doing that. Are we sharing yet? Yes, okay, we're sharing. Good, that's fine. Let me start out here about the kinds of things that we've used in Classroom 2.0 to give you a sense of what we're doing. And this is a screencast I did to walk through how to use Screenweaver. So again, you know, and I need to do this audibly. Kim, could you hear the recording play? Because I can't see the chat room while I'm demonstrating here. Could you just let me know?
We can hear it, but we can't. It's not as loud as, like, so we can understand it.
Right. Okay.
But we could hear that there was audio.
Right. Okay. So this is an example of me creating a screencast, and I put it into an FLV file when it was, you know, I'm ahead of myself. Is everybody going to forgive me and let me change what I'm showing you? So I need to stop the screen sharing and change my application. So I'll just be a second while I do this. Okie dokie. You should be on my desktop again and seeing a QuickTime movie. Is that working for you, Kim? Can you see that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I use QuickTime Pro. I think it's about $30 because it has some really good things. You can record audio and video with it, but you can use it for exporting files.
So you can create screencasts with QuickTime Pro?
Actually, no, you can't, but
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think you can. I'm just saying that's one of the... Right, I'm going to show you in a second. The reason I picked QuickTime Pro is it's multifaceted. I can do several things with it. But you can export files, and I found a couple of really good things that happened. I used iMovie, and I needed to convert it to a Flash file, and it was not able to do it. But I did find out if I had QuickTime Pro, I had all kinds of conversion opportunities for me. So you can publish it straight to the web by exporting to the web. And here's the options that you have: your iPhone, your desktop, and your cell phone. That's one quick way you can export out of that QuickTime player. The other thing is plain exporting here, and I want to show you the different ways and the different options because I talked about file formats a minute ago. So using QuickTime Pro, you can export, and let's look at all the different ways you can export that file. And so you can go to MPG4, you can go to a hinted movie if it was streamed, Apple TV, and a QuickTime movie. And I'm going to go to creating a Flash video file so I can show you what the options are when we talked about different formats and sizes. So if you were using this particular piece of software, you are able to take a look at what size of video you're going to make in it. So you can actually choose here. Is it a 320 pixels by 240, or is it 640 by 480? This is the option that you can use here. You can also talk about what they call encoding the audio, and this is not the screen. I want to find the spot where you can specifically talk about your audio, and that's why. And it's not showing up for me where I'd like it to be. At one point I wanted to make out here, the window that I'm looking for is not showing for me, and you forgive me, I can't find it right now. I just want to point out something to you that I found over practicing is when you get to a larger movie styles, I found I was making these movies and putting them up, and everyone said, well, they stopped playing in the middle. And I could not figure out what it was till I searched on Google and found out you need to change your audio to mono because it makes the file size smaller, and you're able to maintain the audio throughout your movie. And that would be when I made straight movies. I found this tool. So here's the other thing that you may find out if you're losing a larger file, your audio. It could be because you need to put your setting as mono. So does anyone have any questions about file sizes and types of files at this point they wanted to ask?
Lorna, there were a couple of questions. Sorry, Kim.
Okay.
There were a couple of questions that related to optimizing screencasts for posting at YouTube. Is that what you were describing in your last example there? Could you talk about that?
Right. I'm going to go through that in a minute when I go through the different slides, but that's the point I've been trying to make from the very beginning. You have to make sure that your resolution is high enough to do the clarity, and that depends on your tool. And you're specifically working about YouTube. I'm going to address that in a minute when we walk through YouTube. But thanks for the question. Is there another one that I can keep in the back of my mind? Was there another one, Peggy?
People are asking about the best file format for YouTube.
Okay. I'm going to move off of this desktop sharing for QuickTime and go to some of the different sites then, okay? This just takes a minute before it recognizes which windows I have open.
And Lorna, while you're waiting, when you upload to YouTube, do you have to have it converted to a certain file, or does it do it itself?
YouTube will take both movies and flash files to upload. So, okay, Kim, I don't know why it's not giving me Safari. I had it a few minutes ago, so I don't know whether I have to close some windows to make this happen. I was a little concerned about this because I have a lot of windows open. I'll try it again, see what it does. Okay, we're waiting for Illuminate to give me access to desktop sharing for these applications. So what do you think it could be, Kim, that it doesn't work?
You had whatever you're trying to switch to open and active, and then activate the desktop share? Okay. You might want to try exiting it and going and trying it again.
Oh, there's one tab here. It says expand all. Still not showing to me. Okay, we're going to close it down. Okay. This is one of those moments things aren't working. Big pause. Okay. I don't know what else to say on here other than just try changing a slide and see what happens back and forth. There we go. Starting to take it. Can you see my desktop?
Not at the moment.
Okay, just let it hold up because I see something happening here. The one thing I didn't think about talking about screencasting is that the recording of our shows actually can be treated as a screencast because it's demonstrating a lot of things that were going on. So.
And we upload those at our website. So all of that, the recording, and now the closed captioning feature shows up. And some people commented about using closed captioning at YouTube.
Okay, I can see the desktop being taken over. Can you see it now? Okay.
We sure can.
Good. Good. So I knew we had it before and we're all ready to go here. Again, this was an example of just using a tutorial, and that we have them on the website. One is about using FeedReader, and the other one is taking a quick tour. Now, I do have a website, classroomblogging.com, and this particular example, I've used a flash player, and the file size is quite large. Again, I chose a resolution when I was creating this screencast, so that's the clarity that you can actually see on this screencast. But it was a QuickTime movie converted to Flash, and I have a blog, classroomblogging.com, and I use this particular website as a blog, and I use it as a repository for the different videos I create. I'm not trying to plug a specific company, but I do work with DreamHost, and the reason I work with DreamHost is because unlimited websites and unlimited file size and bandwidth grows month by month for you. So I don't have to worry about how big the file is, and I don't have to worry about the bandwidth. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice for a second. So this is particularly good. Even when I'm in another site, I can use a hyperlink to wherever I've used the different files. So when we go back to looking at some of the screencasts I have in different sites, I've been storing at one of the domains. And I look at it this way. There is a cost to this particular hosting package, but I'm not restricted to file size, and I'm not restricted to whether it was beta or not, that I would lose opportunities and contact with my site. So I find this a really good solution when I'm making what I like to think they're professional, but that's up to everyone's interpretation, but I happen to really like that solution. Here's an example of Blip TV, in which I have, again, I use a Flash file, and I happen to like staying with Flash because it is pretty much cross-platform, and so the PC users and the Mac users and Linux can all put on that player and see the videos, and the file size tend to be smaller when they're converted to a Flash file and compressed. So I want to know if you can actually see this happen. I'm using the player with Blip TV. On the presentation was the teaser that Matt Fontaine and I did for our I'm Lorna, Costantini, and I'm Matt Fontaine. We are the moderators of the Parents as Partners webcast at EdTech Talk. Matt and I find it very interesting that teachers and students... were you able to hear and see that play, Kim?
Yes, we were. It was a little, the sound was soft, but we could hear that there was audio and hear it.
Okay. This is an example of Keynote doing its, the Mac version of PowerPoint, or one presentation software, and we were actually able to collaborate online because Matt's in Palo Alto, California. We took our audio clips and put them together with the slideshow and put together this presentation using Keynote. And then the file was converted to a Flash file and uploaded on Blip TV. And I happen to like Blip TV over YouTube. I find the resolution, the presentation of the materials better than I do on YouTube. Personal preference. YouTube now has the ability to put higher resolutions, the HQ, high definition format, so that's a little better in presenting the information. Again, this is my particular favorite. I'm going to move on to the next one. This is another opportunity when I actually use this in the classroom, is that I find that if I go into a classroom, there's no LCD projector and there's no smart board, whiteboard, whatever to use, and that often happens in a classroom, I still want to be able to demonstrate my desktop. So I actually use this presentation here. Again, it's my favorite Keynote, but you could use PowerPoint to do the same thing. And I put together a series of slides that every one of my students was able to put on the screen, and if they clicked on it, it walked through the different slides. So I was actually be able to stand in the classroom, go to the next page, and here's what I want you to do, and clear, clear, clear. The same thing it could easily be done on a Google presentation. If you can put it up and walk through the slides, it's just, to me, was a really good way to present information when I was limited in the kinds of tools that I had. That's another use. Let's go to the next one. Here's kind of a fun thing that I did a while ago, and I used my screen capture recording software, and a Ustream session was running with the chat function all going, and I was able to record that action. So it was another way of taking a produced piece of what I call a live webcast, screen capture it, and still use the experience that happened at that particular time. Again, you're actually seeing me use Blip TV again. I want to talk about embedding and Flash files for a minute, because some of you might be using blogs and want to post your screencast in this particular environment. And one of the reasons I suggest that is again, I'm using WordPress here. You can use WordPress.com. You can use some other blogging software. Blogger itself, they're free, and so that you have the opportunity to have your web presence and still present your screencast without having to be involved in a static website in which you have to use something like Dreamweaver to present it. But I thought if I could take a second and just show you what this looks like and how you can use it. This is a post in WordPress ready to write the content. And in this particular post, I will demonstrate how you would use the Flash player in this blog post to post your screencast. And what you have to do is you have to give it a title and save it. And when you've done that, this FLV button will show up. Insert a Flash video. And tell me something, Kim, am I going too fast on the desktop sharing, or can you see it all right?
If I stretch my window open, I can see some of it.
Okay, so I need to slow it down then so it actually...
Right now, all I'm seeing is just the embedded movie screen.
Okay, which is exactly where I want you to be. And I'm going to click on this, the Flash video button, and here's how you would just insert your Flash file. We're not embedding, we're just inserting the Flash file. I just want you to see, you would have to have uploaded your file on a web server to do this, which is not free, but again, the result is successful.
You can upload your video just like you would an image from your computer, and it stores it in your WordPress gallery.
Okay, which is good, but sometimes there's a file restriction size on that, and that's why I opt not to do that piece. But if it's a small file, you can do that, and I really thank you, Kim. Please keep on interjecting, because this is very helpful. I may be missing things as I talk, and if you're hearing questions or want me to stop again, please do that. But here's how you would put in the Flash file, and put in the URL, and put in the size that you want to display. And you walk through, and they ask you if you want to start playing automatically, and you can say OK. And so you would get this piece of code showing up for you, and when you publish this, it would actually give you the Flash embedded into your blog post. The other particular one, I'm going to erase this, that most people do, is the embed function. I'm going to go to our K-12 online presentation, and I'm going to go back to a Blip TV presentation. Again, I'll wait for the screen to catch up with me. In the bottom of your player in Blip, there's a funny little icon here which will pop up the screen and give you what we call the embed code. You can email it, but we're looking for the embed code, which is a piece of HTML language. If you copy that code and go back to my blog post here, and I copy and paste that, get a funny little piece of code. I'm going to save it, and once it's saved, I'm going to publish it. It's just taking a second to load up. And I didn't change the file size here. The player is going over the sidebar of my blog, but that gives you a very quick idea how you can take the embed code from all the Google, YouTube, Vimeo, Vidler. There's all kinds of different free software hosting platforms that you can use to embed your movies into your blog post. Just quickly going through some of the things that I wanted to tell you. I don't think someone asked about YouTube and what files are best. Is that? I think that was right, if I remember.
Right. What kind of file formats are required, or does YouTube allow?
I think I said before, the QuickTime Movie, the Flash. I don't know the whole list, but when you actually have your account with YouTube and you go to upload, same with Blip TV, they will walk you through that process of which file formats are the that you can use. And I go back to the higher resolution that you make your original screencast, the clearer it's going to be on the screen. And and you have to balance this out. If you have been able to create a screencast with your free software and you need to go and post it on YouTube so that you can embed it later, then you may have to compromise some of that clarity to use the tools that you have available for you. I want to talk about some of the uses of your screencasts. Remember, I talked about where you're going to put them. I just demonstrated how to use the blog and the embed code and use a flash video. I know I wanted to talk about Sue Palmer, who's iPod educator. She has a Ning network going about using screencasts. And Sue has a website called Mastery Maze. And I came across Sue's site, and she has an excellent example. Sorry?
Sue is in here. She doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, good.
But Sue is in here today.
But she doesn't have her microphone. No? Okay.
She can join us in the chat.
Okay, so it's too bad we don't have a microphone, Sue, because I was really excited about what I saw and the kinds of things that Sue's been able to do. And she's used a Moodle install for her classroom, and she's using that to demonstrate to them what she's done and the opportunities they have as students to use their Moodle. I did not open a Moodle site that I have, but
Mastercast Chat Podcast.
I got to let it play for a second.
Welcome to the Mastercast Chat. It's been a while since I've had an episode. I've been crazy busy, and I just thought I'd share a little bit of my most recent project with you. I created a Moodle that I call the Global Lab, and the video that you'll see in a second sort of explains it pretty well. But the basics are, it's used to, I rolled it out of the spring semester to help students who are at risk of failing the Global 10 New York State Regents exam. And so this online space is designed to help them. In the fall, I had used it with students who had actually failed the global exam, and some of them had failed it 2 times, and we're taking it for the 3rd time in January, and of the 8 students that I had, all but 2 of them did pass. So check it out.
I don't know whether you're able to pick up the sound, but I was looking at the time here, and I don't think we have the opportunity to play through all of Sue's presentation here, but I really thought it was important that in the concept of using the screencasting, she was able to engage her students in a different way where they listened to what was going on and they were participants, very much like making your own movies, but it was the opportunity to engage and use this software application to really maximize on the use of your screencasts. So that was about Sue. No, I think that's pretty much it for the desktop sharing. Was there any questions before I move out of the desktop sharing? Which is probably too bad because I just shut down my windows on Safari. So I'm going to come off. Okay, we're back to
If you'd like to ask a question, you can type it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll give you the microphone if your microphone is enabled on your computer. Before we go to the web tour, and I've also put in the link to the Share tab, which has Sue Palmer's site, that page that we were just showing, as well as links to applications, paid and free sites, and some examples of screencasts in our Share tabs links. And someone just asked, is it possible to embed Vimeo or Vimeo videos in Google Sites? Lorna.
Well, you know what? I haven't used it, but let's go through the principle here. If you have the opportunity to put an embed code, you can take your whatever it is that you hosted at and take your embed code and put it into it. We said a blog post, but Peggy's used Google Docs more than I have. Are you able to put embed code into the Google sites, Peggy? So she said she had problems. There you go. There's your answer. I've had problems embedding videos on Google sites, except for Google and YouTube. So there we go. Sue's also answering that question.
It only takes embed from YouTube or Google. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
There's some more questions going on in the chat room, but I think I've covered a lot for people to absorb, and I'd like you to take it from there, Kim.
Okay. One of the sites that I know of is Fligo. I'm not sure how you actually pronounce it, but you can upload like YouTube. If YouTube's blocked, you can upload the different videos to their site, and I'm putting it in the chat. And somebody mentioned that it's private, so you don't have to worry about, like, if you put something about students or student work, you can upload it to Fligo and it's free. There's no limit, I don't believe, on the file size or however many you host, but it's private, and then not everybody would have access to it. So it would be secure if you wanted to use that with students.
I just remembered something, Kim, that I hadn't discussed. What I discovered last night, and you showed me, is Flowgram. And I want to leave that with everybody. Kim, can you talk about Flowgram for a second? Because it's an excellent piece to leave people with.
Sure. Flowgram is a site that's free. I don't believe there's a file size, and I know in the chat I've seen some things mentioned about Flowgram. You can use it for screencasting, or you can upload a PowerPoint and record your narration. It has different effects that you can put in and transitions, and I believe it has a zoom in effect. I'm not certain, but you can use it for screencasting, similar to the programs, and it's all stored online and you upload it online. It's real easy and simple to use. I've used it. It's great. So I believe we have that in our Share Tabs link too. So you may want to experiment with that as well. And we have, Peggy just mentioned, we have some great Flowgram examples in our Share Tabs. So make sure that you check that out as well. Next week is April 11th, and we're going to be talking about NEC Unplugged. And NEC is the National Educators of Computers Conference, and that will be held this June. But we're going to be talking about NEC Live, the EduBloggerCon conference the day before. That's free to attend the EduBloggers. And there's a lot of great discussion about blogging, and not just blogging, but all aspects of technology tools. And it's a great gathering to learn and share ideas. And we will have next week Steve Hargadon and Wes Fryer on the show talking about and planning this session. So if you'd like to contribute or get in on the ground floor of the planning of that day and how the conversations will be structured, please join us next week at the same time, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, for those great conversations in the planning session.
Kim, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure thing.
I forgot about something, and I have Matt in the chat room. So if people would mind holding off for a second, I would love to have Matt come to the microphone and talk about how we use VoiceThread to do a screencast, because it was a lot of fun, and I think he might have something to add. Would you mind if we took a second?
No, go right ahead. Let me...
So Matt, can you see if we give Matt the microphone? Where are you, Matt? There you go.
Lorna, how you doing? I'm kind of not quite ready, but I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
We can.
Oh, okay. So my headphones, I don't have headphones, so sorry if there's echoing. So, yeah, great presentation,
this is
Lorna.
Improv.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say for me, for what I do, screencasting has been invaluable because I've been able to just provide support resources to folks and kind of be there to help people without actually being there to help people. So it's been a great resource. And yes, the working collaboratively on the Parents as Partners K-12 online presentation that we did last fall, extremely helpful with that process as well.
I think what was exciting for me, Matt, is that he led me through pulling pieces of pictures, our conversations. We put our audio together, and where I argue when anyone says it's not a screencast is because Matt, with his license with VoiceThread, actually converted it to a movie, put it in M4V, right, Matt, and then we hosted it as an embed file for people to take over. So it was another opportunity for people to use. If they only have if you have a paid license with VoiceThread, you have the ability to export into movies. So there's all kinds of different options available, but we did have a lot of fun, and I did want to capitalize on the fact that Matt was in the chat room. I'm sorry I surprised you and made you wake up on Saturday morning, but it was lots of fun. It was a very easy and good tool to use, especially when you want to doodle on it or actually write on it. There's some great opportunities. But yes, I'm going on, and there's all kinds of great things in the share tabs to investigate. So I will turn it back to Kim and let her walk through our parting words. Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks, Matt, for sharing. Also, I'm putting in the link to the Illuminate survey. You can click right up there on the screen, and I've also put it in the chat. So please fill that out and give feedback to Illuminate for allowing us to use this form. And our founder, Steve Hargadon, also created the Future of Education, another Ning site, to talk about sharing trends and issues in education. And on coming up this week, as soon as I can get to the slide, there's going to be a session on student and teacher authentic contributions, the long tail in education, and Karen Greenwood-Hinkie and Ruth Rinyard and Jim Begley with his daughter Sarah will be joining together to discuss the contributions on April the 9th, this coming Thursday, at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. And that'll be an Illuminate, and emails and a link can be found through the Future of Education site. So be sure to check that out and watch your email for the links. And we would like to extend special thanks to our presenter, Lorna, who is part of our Classroom 2.0 Live team, and to Steve Hargadon, who is the founder of Classroom 2.0 and the Future of Education. And we thank you so much to everybody who participated today and joined in the conversations. And thank you for sharing your links and bringing in your ideas and asking questions and really making this an interactive chat today. And we thank Illuminate for providing this forum and the great tools that we can get together each week and share and learn and interact with one another. And it will be great when we can start using Learn Central and the Illuminate there, as well as somebody mentioned in the chat today. But tune in next week when we talk about the EduBloggerCon the day before next starts, this coming June. And we hope you have a great day and continue to share your experiences using screencasting. When we post the links, there's a place that you can enter comments on the blog post at our live2.0.com website. And we hope that you have a great day. Thank you so much for coming today, everybody. Paul, did you have a question that you wanted to share or ask, Paul? And yes, thank you, Tammy. You did a great job with the closed captioning. I appreciate that.